The sky above the alien planet shimmered with strange colors. The air was thick and heavy, filled with a faint hum that came from the machines scattered across the rocky landscape. The planet belonged to the Scifi, a species known for their curiosity and careful studies of the stars. Among them, Talon, a young scientist, worked alone in a small outpost at the edge of their territory. He was quiet, focused, and a little nervous about experiments he had been running. Today, he was trying something new, a device that had been found in the ruins of an old alien civilization far from their home. It looked like a small cylinder with panels that glowed faintly. Talon had studied the device for months, trying to understand how it worked. He had read the symbols, watched the signals, and slowly learned to operate the machine. It was supposed to be a scanner, a tool to observe distant objects in space. He pressed a few buttons, adjusted a few levers, and watched the readings on the display. The machine hummed louder. Lights pulsed along its sides in a pattern that seemed alive. Talon frowned. The readings were unusual. Something was happening far away, far beyond the reach of their usual sensors. He leaned closer. The device seemed to be sending a signal, though that was not what he intended. The hum became a vibration under his feet, and he realized the machine was more powerful than he thought. Talon tried to turn it off. He pressed the buttons, pulled the levers, and even unplugged the device. Nothing worked. A bright pulse of light shot into the sky, far brighter than anything he had ever seen from the outpost. He stumbled back and hit the wall. The pulse went out, traveling through space at incredible speed. Talon stared in shock. He had no idea what he had done. Hundreds of light years away, the pulse was received. It was recognized instantly. The humans received the signal with a sense of urgency and caution. Decades ago, humanity had built a network of emergency beacons across space. These beacons were designed to alert human fleets of danger, catastrophes, or stranded colonists. They had not expected anyone to trigger one in thousands of years. But the signal from Talon's planet matched the pattern perfectly. The human fleet jumped to attention. Dozens of ships, massive and sleek, prepared to move. The flagship, Horizon Dawn, commanded by Captain Laura Mendez, set a course for the distant system. Laura had a calm voice, but her eyes were sharp. She understood the meaning of the signal. Someone, somewhere, needed help. Whether it was a trap or a real emergency, they could not ignore it. Her crew moved quickly. Engineers, navigators, and officers prepared the fleet for immediate departure. Human ships were designed to move fast and respond faster. Within moments, the fleet jumped into hyperspace, leaving trails of light behind them. Back on Talon's planet, the Scifi noticed something strange on their sensors. Massive shapes appeared near the edge of their system. Hundreds of vessels, unlike anything they had ever seen, moved with speed and precision. The Scifi military, usually calm and disciplined, began to panic. Commander Wrath, a tall and stern Scifi officer, ordered his ships into formation. The humans were approaching, and he had no idea why. The outpost sent urgent messages to the council, warning that an invasion fleet might be arriving. Talon shook his head. He tried to explain what happened, but the words did not come out right. The council would not listen until they saw it themselves. Panic spread through the outpost. Sensors beeped and flashed, and the sky seemed to fill with enormous ships that blocked out the stars. Talon's heart raced. He had not meant to call them. He had only wanted to study the old machine. Now, the humans were coming, and he feared the consequences. Laura's fleet slowed as they approached the planet. The ships were enormous, but she wanted to show no aggression. The Horizon Dawn moved in front, its sleek hull reflecting the light of the distant sun. She ordered the fleet into a defensive circle around the planet, weapons ready but inactive. Her goal was to protect anyone in danger. Humans had faced Deathworlders and unknown predators before. She knew the importance of arriving in time. She activated a communications array, sending a calm and clear message to the surface. She spoke in the universal translator, using simple phrases meant to be understood by anyone who could hear. "We received your signal. We come in peace. Is anyone in danger?" The message traveled down to the outpost. bouncing off satellites and reaching the worried scientists and military. Commander Wrath received the message first. His ears twitched as he listened. The words were strange but understandable. The humans claimed to come in peace. Wrath did not trust them. He looked at Talon, his eyes narrow. "Did you call them?" he demanded. Talon nodded, his voice trembling. "I did not mean to. It was an accident. I only wanted to test the scanner." Wrath's antennae twitched. He could feel the tension in the room. The Council had trained them to avoid human fleets at all costs. They were rumored to be dangerous, unstoppable, and capable of unimaginable destruction. Wrath could not risk letting the humans land without orders. He prepared a warning. The Silith ships moved into a defensive pattern around the outpost. Weapons hummed as energy built along the edges of their hulls. The humans might be powerful, but Wrath was determined to protect his people. He hoped the humans would not fire first. Tala and ran from console to console, trying to stop the escalation. He explained to Wrath that the beacon was not meant to call anyone, especially not humans. He showed the records of the old ruins, diagrams of the device, and the calculations he had made. Wrath listened, but fear clouded his judgment. "Even if this is an accident," he said, "we cannot take the risk. They are humans. They are dangerous," Talon pleaded. He wanted to explain the truth before it was too late. Outside, the human fleet grew larger, massive shapes moving silently in the void. Laura watched the sensors and knew the Silith were afraid. She wanted to avoid bloodshed. She ordered her officers to prepare a small shuttle for landing. Officer Daniel Ward and Officer Claire Mason would take it. They were skilled in diplomacy and careful with their words. They would try to explain humanity's purpose, but Laura knew it might not be easy. Fear often clouded reason. Even in advanced species. The shuttle moved toward the planet, small and sleek compared to the huge cruisers. Talon watched it with mixed feelings. Hope and fear battled inside him. He wanted help, but he worried about the humans' power. The shuttle touched down gently on the rocky surface. Dan and Claire stepped out, carrying simple devices to translate language. They looked around at the 10 Silith soldiers, who watched them warily. The humans raised their hands in greeting, smiles calm but cautious. "We come in peace," Claire said slowly. "We received your signal. Are you safe?" Talon stepped forward, relief flooding him. He nodded. "Yes, but it was a mistake. The device, it called you. I did not mean to." Dan looked at him, then at Wrath. He spoke firmly but kindly. "We are here to help. No one will be harmed if we can understand the problem." The words were clear, simple, and honest. The Silith looked at each other, unsure. Could they trust the humans? They had heard stories, rumors, legends of human courage and unpredictability. The Council had warned them, but now the humans stood on their world, calm and patient. Talon felt a small spark of hope. Maybe this accident would not lead to disaster. Wrath remained cautious. He scanned the shuttle and the humans carefully. He could see no weapons deployed, only strange machines and devices. He felt tension in his chest. The humans were strong, perhaps stronger than Silith fleets. Yet they did not attack. He wondered if this was a trick, a trap to lull them into vulnerability. He spoke to Talon. "Are you sure this was only an accident?" Talon nodded again. "Yes. I did not know the signal could reach humans. I only wanted to study the device." The humans watched silently, waiting for any sign of hostility. Their calmness was unnerving. Even the youngest Silith soldier felt uncertain. They were trained for danger, yet humans seemed fearless. Talon realized that the humans were here not to conquer, but to help. He could not explain why, only that he felt it in their presence. As the day turned to night, the human fleet remained in orbit, their lights glowing like stars around the planet. The Silith outpost slowly relaxed its alert, but the Council was still wary. The shuttle returned to the fleet, reporting that the surface had no immediate danger. Laura listened carefully, recording every detail. She knew the signal had been accidental, but she also sensed that something larger might happen. She did not want to leave the Silith alone, not when their planet was unprepared for what might come. Talon returned to his work, examining the device more carefully than ever. He understood now that a single mistake could summon vast forces from across the galaxy. He feared what he had started, but he also felt hope. Humans had come, not as destroyers, but as protectors. The outpost had survived the first hours of panic. Yet the story was far from over. The stars outside glimmered, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. The next morning on the Silith outpost, Talon walked carefully among the consoles, checking the readings from the strange device he had activated. The light from the distant sun filtered through the tall windows, casting pale colors across the metal floor. He still could not believe that humans were coming because of his mistake. Yet the fleet hovered above the planet, enormous ships forming a protective circle. He felt both awe and fear. The humans were so large, so precise, yet they had not fired a single shot. Their calm made the tension on the outpost even more noticeable. Soldiers whispered to each other, unsure whether to prepare weapons or lower their shields. Commander Wrath paced back and forth, antennae twitching nervously. He still did not trust the humans, but he could see that they were not acting like invaders. A shuttle from the human fleet approached again. This time it was slightly larger, carrying Officer Daniel Ward, Officer Claire Mason, and a small crew of technicians. They landed smoothly on the rocky ground near the outpost. Talon ran to meet them, heart pounding. He was nervous about what Wrath might do, but he also wanted someone to understand his mistake. Dan and Claire stepped out of the shuttle, moving carefully, their hands empty. Their translator devices beeped softly. Ready to speak, Claire looked at Talon with a calm expression. "We are here to help," she said simply. "We want to understand what happened and make sure everyone is safe." Talon nodded quickly. He led them into the outpost, avoiding the nervous soldiers who watched every move. Inside, the outpost was crowded with equipment, monitors, and old alien artifacts. The device that caused the signal sat in the center, still glowing faintly. Talon pointed at it. "This is the device. It was supposed to be a scanner. I only wanted to study it. I did not know it could call humans." Dan stepped closer, examining the machine with interest. He touched the panel gently. "We can see why it sent a signal," he said. "The pattern matches an old human emergency code. Someone, somewhere, would have recognized it instantly." Claire nodded. "It was an accident," she said. "But accidents can be dangerous if others do not understand." Talon felt relief. At least they believed him. Commander Wrath entered the room, his steps heavy. He glared at the humans. "You claim this is an accident," he said. "Yet your fleet appeared immediately. How can we trust you?" Dan raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "We received a signal. We do not know why it was sent. We came to help anyone in danger. We do not intend to harm you or your people." Wrath's antennae twitched. He studied the humans carefully. They were calm, steady, and completely unarmed. It was unusual for humans to be so patient in tense situations. He narrowed his eyes but said nothing. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the alien device. Talan spoke up. "If you do not believe me, you can see the logs. Everything the device did is recorded. I can show you the calculations and the energy patterns. It was never meant to call anyone." Claire nodded. "Show us," she said. Talon moved to the nearest console and pulled up the records. Numbers, symbols, and patterns filled the screen. Dan examined them, scanning carefully. "This matches what she said," he said. "It was not a deliberate call. The device sent out a signal because of its energy levels and alignment. It is not a trap. It is a mistake." Wrath remained silent, his body tense. But his eyes flicked to the screen. The soldiers whispered among themselves. Even they could see that the humans spoke truthfully. Outside, the human fleet maintained its position. Ships moved slowly in orbit, lights reflecting on the planet's surface. Laura Mendez watched the sensors and spoke softly to her officers. "Keep our weapons ready, but do not fire," she said. "We are here to protect, not to fight. If they need help, we must be the first to give it." Her voice was calm but firm. Her crew worked quickly, checking systems, monitoring the outpost, and preparing for any emergency. They had faced dangerous species before, known as Deathworlders, who destroyed everything in their path. Humans had learned to respond quickly, to protect those in danger. Laura hoped this mission would be similar, but she knew the situation could change in an instant. Back in the outpost, the humans and Silith began talking more. Claire asked questions about the planet, the culture, and the device. Talon explained as best as he could. He described how the beacon worked, how it scanned space, and how it unintentionally broadcast the EME or GENCY code. Dan took notes, careful to record details that might be useful. Wrath listened silently, still unsure. Why would humans come so fast? He asked finally. Dan answered simply, because someone might be in danger. Our fleets are trained to respond immediately. It is part of our duty. Wrath's antennae twitched again. He did not fully understand, but he could see that humans were not lying. Their eyes, body language, and calm actions spoke truth. A sudden alarm interrupted the conversation. Sensors on the outpost blinked red. Talon ran to the console. Something is approaching, he said. The humans moved quickly to the screens. They saw shapes in space, moving fast toward the planet. What is that? Claire asked. Talon's voice shook. I do not know. It is not part of our fleet. It came after the signal. Dan studied the readings. It matches no known Silith ships, he said. This could be dangerous. We need to prepare for defense. Wrath barked orders to the soldiers. Shields raised, weapons powered up. The humans stood calmly, ready to act if needed. The shapes grew larger on the screen. They moved in formation, heading straight for the outpost. The humans realized quickly what was happening. The signal Talon had sent not only called their fleet, it had activated something older. Deep in space, creatures that thrived on planets and destroyed entire biospheres were moving toward the system. These were Deathworlders, species that humans had fought in the past. They were fast, deadly, and relentless. Laura made a quick decision. Prepare the fleet to intercept, she said. We cannot let them reach the outpost. We will form a shield wall and hold them back. Her orders were precise. The human ships moved into position, forming a circle around the planet. Weapons systems powered up, shields brimming with energy. The humans would fight, but they also wanted to protect the Silith. They were the first line of defense, and Laura knew the importance of arriving in time. On the ground, the Silith watched in amazement and fear. Their sensors detected the incoming threat. Wrath's voice trembled slightly. We cannot face them alone, he said. Talon felt guilty. This was his mistake, but humans were here to help. Dan and Claire worked with the Silith soldiers, showing them how to strengthen shields and coordinate defenses. The humans moved among the Silith calmly, giving instructions in simple words. Even the youngest soldiers followed their guidance. Fear was still present, but confidence grew slowly as humans worked. It was the first time the Silith had seen such cooperation. Minutes passed, and the shapes grew larger. The human shields glowed brightly, energy crackling along the edges, weapons lined up, ready to fire. The Deathworlders entered the system. They were massive, black ships covered in armor that seemed impossible to pierce. Their engines glowed red, and they moved with terrible speed. The humans fired first. Precise volleys struck the incoming ships, destroying some immediately. Explosions lit up space. But the fleet held firm. The Silith watched in awe. The humans fought not for conquest, not for glory, but to protect. Even the soldiers began to feel hope. Talan and Wrath stayed near the consoles, watching the battle unfold. The humans' tactics were clever and efficient. They used coordination and precision, striking weak points in the enemy ships. The Deathworlders roared across space, but they could not break the human formation. Laura's voice came over the communicator. Hold steady. Stay calm. We will protect the outpost. Talon realized that the humans were not only strong but smart. They thought quickly, adapted to danger, and never panicked. He felt respect for them. He also felt gratitude. His mistake had almost brought disaster, but humanity had arrived in time to prevent it. After several tense minutes, the Deathworlders retreated, damaged and defeated. Explosions faded, and the system became quiet again. The humans lowered shields slightly, but remained alert. Wrath turned to Talon. They saved us, he said, his voice low. Talon nodded, still catching his breath. Dan and Claire helped repair damaged equipment and reassured the Silith that the danger had passed. The soldiers began to relax, and some even smiled. Fear remained, but trust had grown slightly. The humans had shown their purpose, protectors, not invaders. Talon looked out at the sky, now filled with the calm glow of human ships. He thought about the beacon, the mistake, and the unintended signal. Yet he also thought about the humans who had come without hesitation, who had risked everything to save strangers in a distant system. He felt both guilt and admiration. This accident, terrifying as it had been, had revealed something remarkable. Humans were not only strong, they were brave, smart, and willing to act when others could not. He realized that the story of this mistake was far from over. More challenges would come, but with humans by their side. There was hope. The day ended with humans preparing to return to orbit. Dan and Claire spoke quietly with Talon, explaining what the fleet could do to prevent future accidents. Laura remained on the bridge of Horizon Dawn, monitoring the system. The morning after the battle, the Silith outpost was quiet, though tension still lingered in the air. Sensors scanned the sky constantly, watching for any return of the Deathworlders. Talon walked among the consoles, checking the device that had caused the chaos. He still felt guilty. His curiosity had almost brought destruction to his planet. Yet he also knew humans had come and saved them. The thought of their power and calmness still amazed him. He wished he could understand them better. Dan and Claire arrived at the outpost again, this time to help explain what had happened. They walked slowly among the Silith soldiers, who still looked nervous. Some kept their weapons ready, but others relaxed a little seeing the humans' calm demeanor. Dan spoke first. "We need to understand exactly how this beacon works," he said. "We can help you prevent accidents in the future." Claire nodded. "We also need to know if it could call other dangers, not just humans." Talon agreed. He led them to the main device and started explaining the mechanics. The beacon scanned space. Talon said, "It looks for signals, objects, and even life forms. Then it broadcast a pattern across many light years. I thought it would only record data. I did not know it would send a signal humans could detect." Claire studied the glowing panels carefully. "The signal matches an old human emergency code," she said. "It was meant to bring help to anyone in danger. Your device accidentally sent it, and that is why the fleet came so fast." Talon nodded slowly. He felt relief. At least the humans understood it was a mistake, not a trick. Dan added, "We can also modify the device so it will not send signals accidentally in the future." Commander Wrath remained in the background, watching every move. He still did not fully trust humans, but he could see their honesty. Their calm actions and careful words were different from the stories his species had heard. He turned to Talon. "If this device can call humans, could it call other creatures?" he asked. Talon's eyes widened. I do not know. Maybe. I did not think of that. I only tested it with sensors." Claire's eyes grew serious. "Sometimes signals travel farther than expected. Sometimes they reach things we do not want. We need to check carefully." Wrath's antennae twitched. The soldiers around him began scanning space more carefully, paying attention to even the smallest movement. Dan asked Talon to explain the energy patterns in detail. He pointed at the readings. "See here," he said. "The signal is unusual. It scans DNA patterns and broadcasts them. That is why humans recognized it as a call for help. If another species picks up the signal, it might think someone is in danger too." Talon nodded, understanding the danger. He had not thought that the beacon could do more than he intended. Claire added, "This is why accidents can be dangerous. One small mistake can trigger reactions we cannot control." Wrath's face showed concern. He realized that the humans' calmness was useful, but their knowledge was far greater than anything he had seen. As they spoke, sensors picked up a movement in deep space. Talon froze. "Something is approaching again," he said. Dan and Claire rushed to the screens. The shapes were enormous and moved with terrible speed. "These are Deathworlders," Dan said quickly. "They were alerted by the signal." Wrath's antennae twitched. "We cannot fight them alone," he said. The outpost quickly activated shields. The humans moved among the Silith soldiers, giving instructions in simple, clear words. They showed the Silith how to strengthen defenses, coordinate shields, and prepare for attack. The Deathworlders entered the system, moving directly toward the outpost. Their black hulls glowed red, engines burning brightly, and weapons charging. Laura's fleet was already in position. She gave precise orders. Hold formation. Engage only when necessary. Protect the outpost first. The human ships moved like a single organism, shields aligning. Weapons firing with accuracy. The first volley struck the Deathworlders, causing explosions that lit up the dark void. The Silith soldiers watched in awe. The humans fought with calm determination. Every shot was aimed, every move coordinated. The Deathworlders roared across space, but could not break the human line. Talon realized humans were not only powerful, but intelligent. They thought faster than any Silith or alien species he had studied. Inside the outpost, the humans explained the strategy to the Silith. Claire spoke clearly. Do not panic. Follow our instructions. We will protect you. Stay behind the shields and do not interfere with weapon systems unless told. The soldiers nodded, trusting the humans despite fear. The humans moved efficiently, checking shields, monitoring energy flows, and giving updates to Laura's fleet. Talon helped, understanding their methods and patterns. He noticed how humans predicted enemy movements, how they adapted quickly to unexpected changes, and how they kept calm even under pressure. He felt both awe and hope. After several tense minutes, the humans began pushing the Deathworlders back. Their weapons struck with precision, causing critical damage to the enemy ships. Explosions filled space, but the fleet remained intact. Wrath watched in disbelief. They are saving us, he said quietly. Talon nodded. Yes, they are not here to conquer. They are here to protect. The soldiers began to feel confidence. Fear was still present, but the humans' courage and skill inspired hope. Even the council members observing remotely started to understand that humans could be trusted, at least in this situation. Once the battle ended, the Deathworlders retreated. The human fleet maintained shields and kept their weapons ready. Laura spoke over the communicator. The immediate danger is gone. We will remain in orbit to ensure no further attacks. We will help repair your systems and teach you how to prevent future accidents. Talon and Wrath worked together with the humans to restore the outpost's energy and shield systems. The humans' knowledge and experience made repairs faster and safer. Soldiers began to relax. For the first time since the signal was sent, the outpost felt safe. Dan and Claire spent time explaining the beacon in detail. They showed Talon and Wrath how to modify the device so it would not send signals accidentally. They also explained how energy patterns could travel farther than expected and reach dangerous species. Talon listened carefully, learning from the humans' experience. Claire spoke simply but clearly. This is how accidents can become disasters. Understanding your tools and devices is as important as understanding space itself. Talon nodded. He realized his curiosity had been dangerous, but now he had guidance. Humans had turned a mistake into a lesson. Wrath remained cautious but impressed. Your species is different from any we have met, he said quietly. You act with purpose, even under stress. You do not panic. You are remarkable. Dan smiled. We have learned from many battles. We know how important it is to protect others. That is why we act quickly. Claire added, we do not conquer. We help. Sometimes that is all we can do in space. Wrath's antennae twitched slowly. He was beginning to understand. Humans were unpredictable but honorable. Their actions spoke louder than words. Talon felt a sense of pride and relief. Humans had not only saved the outpost, but had taught them a valuable lesson. As night fell, the humans remained in orbit. Sensors continued to scan for any signs of danger. The outpost quieted, and soldiers prepared for rest. Talon stayed by the device, examining it with the knowledge he had gained. He understood its power, its danger, and the reason humans had arrived. He realized that accidents could have consequences far beyond imagination. Yet he also saw that help could come from unexpected places. Humans were strong, clever, and willing to act. Their presence had changed the outcome entirely. Laura watched the system from Horizon Dawn. She knew the beacon had been activated by accident, but she also knew it had revealed more than she expected. The Silith were frightened, unprepared, but capable of learning. Humans had acted not out of fear but duty. She hoped this connection would last beyond the immediate crisis. Her fleet maintained formation, ready for any new threat. The galaxy was dangerous, full of unknown species and unpredictable events. She understood that vigilance, calm, and courage were necessary to survive. Dan and Claire spent hours reviewing the data from the beacon and the battle. They discussed possible threats, ways to improve defenses, and how to help the Silith prevent future accidents. Talon listened closely, absorbing every word. He realized that mistakes could teach lessons, and that help could appear in the most unexpected form. He thought of the humans, their courage, skill, and calmness. He felt hope, something he had not felt in a long time. The galaxy could be dangerous, but he was no longer alone. Humans were here, and their presence had made a difference. The day ended with humans preparing to leave the planet, though some ships stayed in orbit for observation. Dan and Claire spoke quietly with Talon and Wrath. They explained how to monitor the beacon, how to understand signals, and how to cooperate with humans if necessary. Laura remained on the bridge, ensuring everything was stable. The outpost was safe, the immediate threat gone, and the lesson of the beacon clear. Humans had turned a mistake into protection. Talon realized that while accidents could summon danger, they could also summon hope and allies in the most unexpected ways.